wise and excellent way of life, and save us from all dangers and disasters. We ask you, O Allah, for sufficiency, so that we do not have to rely on the help of others. O Allah, give us true faith, so that we do not fear or hope for anyone other than you. Spread your mercy upon us, our families, our children, and all those who are with us. O Allah, do not leave our fate to be determined by ourselves, even for a blink of an eye or an easier and faster way. O Lord who answers prayers, please grant our request. O Allah, in conjunction of BIMB Securities' second Economic Corporate Day event today, do guide us to be among those whom you have guided. Do grant us good health and forgiveness, so that we shall be among those whom you have granted good health and forgiveness. For Allah, you are the most forgiving and the most merciful, and you love to forgive. Therefore, forgive us, forgive all our sins. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم والحمد لله رب العالمين آمين يا رب العالمين.
Okay, thank you, Azim. Okay, now we will move on to our first presenter, Encik Imran, our Chief Economist of BIMB Securities. Oh, okay. Before that, we will let's allow our acting CEO, Dr. Rosnani, to give an opening address for this event. Dr. Nani, you can go ahead. Dr. Nani, you have to unmute yourself.
Okay, sorry, hi. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, the working committee. Hello, Mano. Nice to see you. Welcome everyone to our seventh corporate day of the year, the second leg of economic presentation. We are very happy to have Mano today. You look as young as ever, and also Mr. Pubalan. Indeed, we think that this corporate day for econs is very timely. Why? Because budget 2024 is coming. I think 2 to 3 weeks from now, and given that Mano is working closely with the government on consultancy on the budget and whatnot, let's have him talk about a bit on the budget if you can. Indeed, we are also at a crossroad because the government just tabled the review of MK12, and also the Prime Minister is due to speak on economy Madani at United Nations General United Nations Assembly tonight at 10 p.m. So also Malaysia is at a crossroad because ringgit dropped to I think quite a low of 4.69 just recently. Oil price jumped to close to I think slightly more than USD 94 per barrel. So all this will have an impact to the economy, and we think that this is very timely for the government. Manu will be able to give us some insight also on what he thinks whether GST is coming very soon or not too soon. Manu will be able to give some insight on that lah. And also what would be the government direction on the subsidy, because subsidy as mentioned by Minister of Economy yesterday, if oil price reach let's say USD 100 per barrel, this will have a great impact to the government fiscal position. So all these I think will be we are very happy that we're able to get these two respective speakers. Mr. Manokaran currently is the executive director and executive director, non-independent director at MEFCAP, and also Rising Success Consultancy, and also Mr. Pobalan, which is a special officer at the Prime Minister's office. So we hope that this will be a great avenue for everyone to extract a lot of information from these two. Uh, I hope that there will be this session will be very very interactive. We have a lot of economists attending this conference with us. If you have any questions, you can always WhatsApp our team, or you can ask directly Imran, Manu, or Mr. Pubalan, or even you can type in the chat box. And without taking too much time, Manu, it's very nice to see you, and look forward to hear your presentation, and Mr. Pubalan. And let's have a great day today with the second leg of our economic presentation. Chris and team, thank you. Good job. Note that we have another 2 corporate day coming up, and we look forward to see you soon. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Nani. Okay, now we will move on to our first economic presentation by our Chief Economist, Encik Imran. Okay, just a brief background on Encik Imran. He is our Chief Economist at BIMB Securities, and he has over 25 years of experience in research, especially in economics, capital markets, and currency. He started his research career as an equity economist at MIDF Investment Bank and later joined Kuwait Finance House Global Research as Global Currency Strategist. And then he moved on to M Investment Bank to head the FX Treasury Research Team. Okay, Encik Imran, you can go ahead and start your presentation.
Okay, Assalamualaikum and good morning. We on the economic side, basically, I think we just go through the highlights of the global economy and also the domestic economy. So I think for a start, if you look at what happened in the early decade of first 3 years of this decade, it's been unusual as when we compare to the 2010s, and we face what we call a once in a century pandemic, which is COVID-19, which authorities countered by locking and shutting down the big chunks of the global economy and providing massive monetary and fiscal stimulus. And in time, that stimulus, along with the cost of reopening of the global economy and restoring supply chains, had fueled the sharpest sustained surge in global inflation in 40 years. So I think the central banks eventually responded with the most aggressive global rate hike cycle in decades, with consequences that include financial market rout in 2022, a banking crisis, tighter credit conditions, and widespread forecast of the recession of this year and next. So I think the world started the new year with gloomy growth prospect, with some major economics on the cusp of recession. And I think recession and also the persistent inflation. So in mid first half of 2023, the global economy was rocked by the bank failures in advanced economies amid aggressive rate hikes, although it did not turn out as contagious as initially feared. The global economy entered the second half of this year at where it was started with high interest rates, sticky inflations, volatile commodity prices, and a tight labour market. Considering the conundrum policymakers face in bringing the economy back to some degree of normalcy, more policy intervention is needed rather than less. So the global economy basically is facing an increasing imminent slowdown as China's recovery momentum slows. So I think what we've seen in the first half of 2023 had surpassed expectation. The world economy is now projected to see full year growth more moderately at about 2.6%, and slower than the past 2 years of post-pandemic recovery. And economic data consistently outperform pessimistic prediction over the past year. So I think major economy do face critical challenges consistent with higher rates. Higher rates manufacturing is showing weakness, especially in the US, China, and Europe, and many global growth in 2023. So I think we've seen in the first half of the year in the global economy recovered slightly in the second half, but if we've seen in the US economy, which continue to expand despite rate hike by the Federal Reserve, and the second half, the economy increased by about 2.1%. By about 2.1% in the second quarter, up slightly from the 2% pace in the first quarter. However, but it grew by 6.3% in the second quarter, which is higher than 4.5% in the first quarter. But in the first half of the year, it's expanded by only 5.5%. And I think the overall for global economy in the second half, we foresee that the subdued growth on the supply side could persist as business maintain cautious view on future sales, and we also expect the effect of the policy tightening will translate into weaker growth momentum, especially when households start to hold back their purchases and demand for credit. And in this slide 5, the global inflation, we expect global inflation to ease slightly in 2023, and inflation, I think, will remain elevated in many countries even though supply condition has improved. So overall price pressures are increasingly driven by surging demand, in contrast to early period of post-pandemic recovery where inflation was triggered by supply shock from the supply disruptions, and also because of the temporary worsen of the war in the Ukraine. So also there have been some improvement in the supply chain, but persistent high demand resulting from the previous pandemic support measures, and coupled with the improving employment and wage growth have exerted pressure on prices. And the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war and also the uncertainty state of the US-China elections also added further strain to the situation. So I think if you look at the certain countries, for example in the US, headline CPI recorded a back-to-back acceleration since it peaked in June 2022. In August, the CPI rose by 0.6% month-on-month and was up 3.7% year-on-year. Similarly, monthly pickup in pace up to 0.3% month-on-month, and however on the yearly basis it gone down from 4.7% in July to 4.3% year-on-year. So I think if you look at the Asian region, headline inflation had eased towards the pre-pandemic average as supply side pressures wane and monetary tightening took hold. And I think we've seen that inflation trended down in the oil sub-region this year, along with the fuel and food price of China, because I think inflation is largely absent in China due to weak domestic demand and falling factory prices. But it recovered slightly in August and increased by 0.1% year-on-year from the negative 0.3% in July. So I think when we look at the core and on the next slide, on the monetary policy, I think in response to the elevated inflation, major central banks continue to raise policy interest rate higher, and the additional rate hikes were also facilitated by the resilience in demand conditions as well as tight and robust labour markets, even though the credit costs have reached multi-year highs. So I think, in fact, to ensure the price pressures will be contained, requires growth to slow and aggregate demand to be constrained. So we predict that the need for further tightening will lessen as inflation is generally projected to ease further in the second half of 2023. As such, I think we expect central banks will approach the end of the policy tightening in the later part of the year as inflation shows more progress trending lower. What we have seen during the central bank meeting, the latest in September, we saw that ECB, European Central Bank, decided to raise the policy rate by 25 basis points to increase the rate to 4.5%. And after a total of about 450 basis points rate hike, the ECB main policy are now at record high, and I think although we believe the door to the future rate hikes remain open, but we are keeping our view of pause in the current tightening cycle, which implies that the terminal rates for ECB is at the current, which is 4.5%. And yesterday, the Fed also had a meeting, and again, as market expect, the federal fund rate was unchanged at 5.25 to 5.5%. And during the September meeting, the Fed come up with the economic projection as also dot plot, and the economic projection was more optimistic. If you look at the median forecast of GDP growth for this year and 2024 were revised higher, and forecast of the unemployment were revised lower, but inflation forecast only received minor adjustment. And what is more interesting is the so-called dot plot, which is the which showed that the 12 of the 19 committee members believe that another 25 basis points of rate hike would be appropriate by the end of this year. And the dot plot also shows that only 50 basis points of policy easing would be appropriate next year, considering considerably less than the 100 basis point of rate cuts that were forecast in June 2020 in June this year. So what we are seeing from the dot plot is that the members still expect another one rate hike by end of this year, but for us, I think we still believe that there will be 50-50 chances, and the Fed would possibly cut the Fed fund rate by next year, but instead of at a faster pace, the dot plot shows that there will be a slower pace. It means that the rate will be high for longer. So that is the message that the Fed is giving to the market. If we look at the what has been transpired in the yesterday's meeting, and today also there will be a meeting by the BOE where we expect BOE to hike by another 25 basis point, which will bring it to 5.5%. And as for the region, there will be meeting from the Bank Indonesia, Philippines, as also CBC Taiwan, but we don't expect to see any changes in the rate for those three countries. So as we mentioned earlier, that we expect central banks at the end of the tightening, hiking interest rate, and we might see we have seen that several central banks have already stopped their hiking, such as RBA, RBNZ. So this is going to be the trend in the next few months until the end of this year. Okay, they still have a few of risks to the global economy, and for example that such as high inflation, and also the financial conditions, financial tightening, and also the geopolitical issues with the Ukraine and Russia war, which I think this so far we do not see an end to it. So as for Malaysia, I think we look at the I think slide 9 shows that this is our highlights of the key indicators. We expect GDP for this year at 3.7%, OPR remain at 3%, IPI at 2%, and so on. So I think if we look at Malaysian economy, the economic growth hit the lowest in nearly 2 years in the second quarter because of the sliding export and also global slowdown. and it expanded by only 2.9% year-on-year, which marks the lowest pace of growth since 2021, and it brings the first half 23 GDP growth to 4.3%. The domestic economy is expected to grow at a slower pace in the second half, mainly due to the waning lower base effect and the weak external demand, along with the cautious spending among the households. So, and then I think considering the external headwinds and global financial market uncertainties and further tightening monetary policy in many economies, we revised our expectation of nation's GDP to 3.7% from our earlier forecast of 4.5%. But we still expect domestic demand to continue to be the main driver for growth this year. So, if you look at the data that are being released by the from Malaysia, I think we see a strong retail spending by the Malaysians, and for example, the distributive trade posted a 7.2% growth in July, which was the strongest pace since April this year. And I think overall growth in the retail highlights the strength of consumer demand and also the resilience of the retail industry in Malaysia. And I think while domestic demand remains resilient, the sustained by steady recovery in the labour market and easing inflation basically help support the retail spending, and I think the economy currently fundamentally is still healthy, and as long as employment growth holds up, consumers will still be willing to spend. So we still expect retail sales to continue to benefit from the ongoing revival of inbound tourism and local consumption demand, and which will further bolster its performance in the coming months. And as mentioned, the labour market continued to show improvement as the unemployment rate held unchanged at 3.4% for the second month in a row, and the labour force participation rate rose further to record high of 70.1%. And I think the pace of improvement has turned more gradual as the jobless rate inches closer to its pre-pandemic level of 3.2 to 3.3%, which was recorded in the second half of 2019. But I think overall the job market remains in good shape as reflected in continuous positive growth in employment, the decline in the unemployment, and also the lower jobless rate. So for the job market, I think the catalyst that will help cushion the impact from the external headwinds. I think we include gradual recovery in tourism activity, expected upturn in global tech cycle, the sustained foreign direct investment inflows, the ongoing infrastructure jobs, and the continuation of government measures to support the labour market. So I think that will help the labour market in the coming months. And of course, we also expect government to unveil more job measures and progressive wage policy during the tabling of the National Budget 2024 or the October 13. Okay, similar to the trend in other countries, our inflation also had edged down to about 2.8% year-on-year, and sustaining 11-month moderating trend, which brought headline inflation level to the lowest reading since August 2021. And similar to the headline CPI, core inflation also decelerated for the 8 consecutive months to 2.8% year-on-year, which is the lowest level since May 2022. So year-to-date, headline inflation increased 3% in January to July, and core inflation averaged about 3.5%. We expect inflation to hover at the edge of around 2% in the remaining months of the year, including 2, which will lead to an average inflation rate of about 2.6% for the entire year of 2023, which is slightly lower than what BIMB had forecasted, where I think BIMB forecast inflation rate of 2.8 to 3.8%. I think the moderation pressure is a positive signal, especially to domestic demand, to stay on expansionary path in the second half of the year. But the persistent high domestic food inflation will remain as downside risk factor amid the climate change and geopolitical war impacts on global agriculture output. I think when you mention the food inflation, we look at that Malaysia's food inflation scheduled lower to I think about 4.4% year on year, and the price of food at home declined to 21-month low of about 3% year on year, but food away from home moderated to 6.2%. But there's an issue currently with the prices of rice because of India had banned the export of rice, white rice to most of the countries, and as a result, the price of rice had increased just recently in the past few weeks, and I think that will have, although that will not have a bigger impact on the headline inflation, but we might see some increase in the food away from home inflation. So that I think the combination of increased import price, concerns over supply shortages, and also the manipulation, I think the so-called alleged manipulation by sellers could spill another challenge for the government to further rein in the inflation. And we look at the consumer sentiment index, basically the CSI appear to be on a downward trajectory, and it continued its negative trend, falling about 8.4 points and dropped further to 90.8 in the second quarter of 2023. The greater pessimism towards the economic environment, such as future employment prospects and also inflationary pressures, had put down the consumer sentiments below the 100 levels for now. But I think once that sentiment is, we might see the CSI crawl back up above 100. And talking about the OPR, the interest rate, I think we know that Bank Negara maintained the OPR at 3% for the second street meeting last month. And as economic growth and inflation continue to ease, and so far this year, the MPC had only one rate hike, which is in May, when it decided to raise the OPR by 25 basis points from 2.75% to 3%. And since last year, I think Bank Negara had increased the OPR by a modest 155 basis points in the current cycle. And I think the latest decision could suggest that the Bank Negara had reached the concluded its tightening and we keep rates higher for longer. There will be there will be one more meeting in 2023, which is in November, and we expect Bank Negara to stay pat as inflation moderates further on the back of decreasing supply-driven pressure. And I think overall, I think the Bank Negara had reached its policy normalization cycle target, and we expect to keep the policy rate steady until 2024. But I think Bank Negara will continue to remain vigilant in monitoring external factors and take the appropriate action if needed. Other data that we have seen, for example, the IPI has gone down slightly and then rebounded back to positive growth of 0.7% year-on-year in July, due to the rebound in the mining output and the slower fall in the manufacturing production. And the manufacturing PMI also has not been good. It remained unchanged in August, below the 50 levels, which reflects a subdued demand in the third quarter, and it remained in contraction level for the 12th consecutive month since September 2022. And our trade also has not been positive. It's been in August, it contracted by 19.8% year-on-year, and import also had slowed down, all because of the slower external demands that had pushed not only Malaysia but also other countries' external trade. So we see that to date, exports in the first 8 months of 2023 is contracted by 7.6%, and we expect export to decline over the coming months before bottoming out toward the end of the year. So I think most measures of export orders point to a more substantial pullback in foreign demand, and as a result, we are revising our forecast for both export and imports to fall at a sharper pace of -7 and 7.5% respectively. Okay, as for the currency, we know that ringgit currently trading about 4.68, 4.69. And if you look at what the federal fund's been doing, I think the US dollar will be stronger for a little longer. And that's why we had revised our ringgit, dollar ringgit forecast from 4.28 to 4.55. And we expect once we have a concrete statement from the fact that they will start, they will stop hiking interest rate, and then we might see the reversal in the strength in the US dollar. So for now, we don't expect to see any strength, even though fundamentally ringgit is doing quite okay, but due to the external factors such as the strength in the US dollar and the tightening of the federal fund, which has pushed the dollar higher, that will remain in the play. So I think that's why we believe that the US dollar will continue to remain high for the next few months toward the end of the year. So that will be a challenge for the Malaysia moving forward. And I think again, overall the risk will always be mostly on the external factors such as issue with the slower China growth, and also the Russia-Ukraine war, and inflationary pressures, which if we have more. So I think that is all from some highlights of the global and domestic economy. So I pass it to the moderator. Thank you very much. Please.
Okay, thank you, Encik Imran. Okay, next we will move on to Mr. Mano Karan's topic. Hold on. Okay, okay, sorry, yeah. Okay, next we will move on to Mr. Mano Karan's presentation. Just a brief description on Mr. Mano Karan. Mr. Mano Karan is currently one of the independent directors of Malaysia Venture Capital Management, and prior to that, he has retired as a chief economist of Alliance Bank Berhad after serving the bank for more than 9 years. His experience includes Director of Economic Research at M-Bank between 2006 and 2012, Chief Economist at SBB Securities between 1996 to 2006. And Mano was appointed as a council advisor for the Faculty of Economic and Administration of UKM in January 2020. Okay, following that, Mano has been appointed as the industrial advisor for UKM also for 2 years, effective 11 October 2021. Recognizing his vast experience and knowledge in economics, the government had appointed him as a working member of the National Economic Council for 2 years. Okay. He is also a member of the 11 MP and the 12 MP panel for the Indians under MIC and Mitra, respectively. Okay, Mr. Mano, you can go ahead and share your screen.
Can you see?
Yeah, we can see.
Can see.
Okay, you can go ahead.
Okay, you can see, yeah?
Yeah, we can see.
Okay. Thanks for the introduction, Chris. And also thanks to Dr. Nani, whom I know as Rosnani at one time, now become doctor, and also CEO of BIMB. Very, very
Sorry, Mano,
happy to see you again.
You want to increase your slide size? Turn it into presentation mode.
Huh?
Your slide.
Okay.
Go for presentation mode. Yeah. All right.
Can you
Okay.
see?
Yeah, can.
Okay. Thanks. Thanks for the invitation. After about almost like 2 years coming back to the industry to guide the fund managers as well as the rest of the economists. Hopefully, we can see the matured economists, economic reports in the future, and uh, almost most of it already been covered by Imran just now. Thank you, Imran, for that documented presentation just now. Okay, in my presentation, I will tone down on the highlights and go into the outlook. Okay, the outline, the presentation include global status of Malaysian economy as well as challenges faced by Malaysian. Okay. Under the global projection, IMF already mentioned that growth will be about the same as last in 2023. That means it's 3% for both years, as well as advanced economies also is on a moderating trend, but emerging economies are going to be on the rising trend. Okay, as the economic structure is a bit different. Okay, and if you can see, this is how some of the economies are facing. The dots are referring to first Q, whereas the bar chart referring to the second Q. And inflation, good to see that most of the economies are already seeing a decelerating trend. It's good to, for future momentum. Okay. Global inflation, if you look at it, has eased from 8.7% to 6.8% and further to around 5.2%. The decline is driven by monetary policy tightening, okay, and as well as falling international commodity prices. This inflationary, in other words, is downtrend in inflation as not only in the ASEAN region, but it's also gone global. Okay, in terms of policy tightening, policy rates tightening, we can see that U.S. Federal has already maintained yesterday's federal fund rate, and we expect moving forward will be easing trend in terms of we don't expect too much of policy tightening in the future. Okay, for Malaysia, as we expected, the trend is a downward trend. And because of the previously we had the low base, so the growth was in the range of around 8%. Okay, now from the first Q, 5.7%, second Q, it has decelerated or moderated to around 2.9%. Basically, if you dissect the economy further, you will see the domestic factors are still strong, but only thing is the external demand is slowing down. Okay, why is it slowing down? I will touch on it later. But because of the domestic factors, our economy is still strong at 2.9% for the second quarter. And the trend will be similar trend for third Q. And fourth Q, we can expect some kind of a rebound. And first Q, we should see some solid growth there. So moving forward, 2024 and 25 will be a good year for Malaysia because I look at it, investments are going to come in. Okay, this is the given you the real GDP growth on a pictorial, and you can see I also give you a a table saying that how the growth has been on a yo-yo. If you look at it from a March 23, 5.7 came down to 0.7 and then rebound back to May 23, 5.6%, and then come down again. Still, I would say as long as the noises, political noises are there, uh, the growth going to be very volatile like this. Okay, hopefully, I just hope that all leaders will focus on the economic building, rebuilding of the economy. After that, Malaysia is out of the woods. Okay, for like I said just now earlier in the talk, I've already mentioned that domestic activities on a firmer foot. Okay, supply side, especially services. Okay, if you look at it, wholesale retail trade is strong. Then manufacturing sector, which is 24% of the GDP at the moment, is also resilient. I would say that on the manufacturing sector, will pick up the moment the FDIs come in, over the next few months. For wholesale retail trade, you can see has reached 138 billion, showing a year-on-year growth of 6.6%. And in particular, the subsectors which are doing well at the moment is motor vehicles, retail trade, and wholesale trade. These all are contributing positive growth to the sector. On the demand side, private consumption is still strong, okay, especially transport, communication, and restaurants. Key drivers for growth, For second Q, if you can see, not only the wholesale retail trade has been giving you the support, tourist spending also has been giving you the support. If you look at it, tourist arrival, it is around 1.55 million in the month of early part of the year, and then airport passenger traffic also has rebounded. Unemployment rate has come down to around 3.5, very close to, you all know that the full unemployment rate will be the 3% target. Okay. You can see the Malaysian external demand or exports are coming down. Why is it coming down? Despite the fact that the weakening of the ringgit, the sector is still losing the glamour because of the general weakening of the economic trading partners. Okay, we can see, one of the major trading partner for Malaysia is China. But look at China, what is happening. China at the moment is facing the dangers of overheating already, and you can see what are the things that is signaling this slowing down is the youth unemployment rate is 21% for China. Okay, whereby the general concern is the graduates are not getting the job, and overflowing property sector. That means the property sector has been, sort of like most of the buildings are unoccupied. And you can see that is not a good sign for an economy. Okay. And further, that economy, I believe it has been driven with the property investment. Property investment has come down now because of the signals of unoccupied units and all that. People are already trying to control the investment. Investment in property sector has come down by as much as 21%. Okay, when you have a high unemployment rate, in China, and then you have property sector unoccupied and all that, people are not having the extra cash to spend. The latest reports are consumer spending also coming down. So that's why I say US regarded China as a ticking time bomb. Okay, the time bomb is if the economy or the authorities don't react or don't do anything about it, it might be dangerous. Okay, so that's why so the main trading partner is China for us. Okay, apart from US and Japan and the Europe, where the China is slowing down the import, or they are importing less from Malaysia because of the domestic conditions. Here, Malaysia's exports are weaker. Okay, got to understand that. Huh? Okay. Again, this is how external trade has come down. Okay. We have been, for the past 8 months, it has been a downward trend. Okay. But however, Malaysia is lucky. Why I say lucky? We don't have the twin deficit. We have the fiscal deficit. Okay. Yes, we have the fiscal deficit, but current account is still a balance. current account is still surplus there. So one is surplus and one is a deficit. So on that basis, we are okay, you know. So that is not going to affect your ringgit exchange rate. Okay, foreign direct investment also positive, but it can be better. It has been slowing down. It has slowed down from first quarter 12 billion to 3.1 billion is because of the uncertainties in political environment. Okay, so you can see that that's the main reason. All the FDIs are already, the government has already attracted the FDI. But the thing is that is only on the signing stage. Money has not come in, they are getting prepared to bring in the money. But here locally, the environment is not that favorable. So that's why the Prime Minister has to make another trip to China. Okay, net inflows into the bond market, okay, is still not, not really overwhelming, despite the 125 basis points hike in OPR. Still waiting for them to bring in the money. But actually, if you can look at the stockbroking activities, still weak. Moving forward, we can see following us. Excuse me. Somebody is talking there, is it?
I know you go ahead. Already muted.
Okay. Any problem? Keep.
No problem.
Chris.
All okay.
Okay. So moving forward, we expect growth to on a moderately or cautiously optimistic, and we think that our growth estimate for 2023 will be around 4% compared to my previous forecast of 4.5 to 5%. Okay. The pace of economic expansion to ease, taking into account of the absence of a base effect. Previously, we had the base effect in the beginning of the year. That's why we had a good growth of in especially if we look at that in 2022, we saw a full year growth of 8.7% because 2021 the full year growth was on a low base, 3.3%, and minus 5.5% in 2020. So all that has sort of like artificially push up your GDP growth expectation. But going forward, we can expect some pent-up demand, as well as slow growth in the external conditions. Nevertheless, Malaysia relatively diversified in economic structure, so we can expect the slowdown will not be, too much of, causing. I would say it's not going to cause like depression or anything like that. Okay. But we are better off compared to the 1998. Okay, this is the you can see quarterly basis. Quarterly basis. Okay, quarterly basis. You can see the growth is trending down, but will rebound by first Q. Consumption remaining expansionary, okay, for the coming quarters. Tourism activities also on the tourism activities will support consumption activities. Inflation expectation is relatively moderate going forward due to existing price controls, as well as we have seen inflation has come down, okay, to around 2% latest, and for the year we are looking at 2.8%. But this 2.8% is still higher than the pre-pandemic, but within the official forecast of 2.8 to 3.8%. We expect inflation to ease further as base effect dissipates. Recently, government has hinted that any subsidy regionalization will be probably implemented later this year. But since we are talking about subsidy regionalization for fuel, everybody will be asking, when is this targeted subsidy is going to come into picture? But not now. I think they are still working on it. But in the budget, in the coming budget, there will be some indication given on the subsidy regionalization. I had a meeting recently with the KSP, Dato Johan American. He is the Secgen of Ministry of Finance. I did raise all this, the subsidy regionalization. He said that at the moment they're still having problem. I think there are, in order to do any reforms in the current measures, you need to, it's a major exercise. In fact, if you look at it from a blanket subsidy to a targeted subsidy. How they want to do it, targeted subsidy, I think this is my opinion. I think they will introduce something like what they have introduced to the Singapore vehicles. We all know at the moment, vehicles from Singapore or number plates, vehicles with the Singapore number plates can only pump around 97. Okay, so they are not given the privilege of using the subsidized petrol around 95. Likewise, they might give a certain amount of petrol on subsidized for all of them. Immediately they want to do it, they can do it. I have written some reports also on this. In other words, is first 100 liters or first 50 to 100 liters given on a subsidized rate, that is around 95. Other than that, you will have to use the around 97. In other words, so T20, B40 guys, they are using motorbikes. So their monthly usage will be lesser compared to T20 people or M40 people who are using big cars. They will have to, they got no choice, but they got to face the problem. Face the new measure if they introduce, whereby you can only pump around 97, not around 95. Okay, that is one of the issues that they are looking at. That is one. There are also I'm touching on the budget measures. There are also expectations that whether there will be any new tax measures. Yes, there will be. Okay, first of all, there will be corporate gains tax, CGT, but corporate gains tax will, I think, they are aware, the government is aware that if they introduce for capital market or stockbroking activities, that will hamper, yeah, I mean, they will affect their sentiments and all that. So I think the government is thinking of introducing not to stockbroking or capital market, but more towards other kind of investments like property investment and all that. Okay, so that is the expectation that I have. And the other thing is, will there be GST? Is a $1 million question. Will there be a GST introduction? There will be. GST will come in to the picture soon, but I don't think this year. They may introduce some, some kind of information, educating the overall people, prepare them for the introduction of a GST, but not this year. To me, when we were discussing about GST and all that, we did say that GST, if introduce GST, some people saying that if they want to introduce GST, must be at the lower level of 4% and all that. But if you all understand, SST at the moment is 6% is for services tax and 10%, 6 to 10% kind of SST is currently in exercise. And the amount that has been raised is about 30 to 40 billion. The last GST of 6%, if you look at it, the amount was 42 billion. So if you want to introduce GST at a lower level of 4%, it defeats the purpose. You are going back, the tax collected will be lesser than the SST. Okay, so all these will be considered. Okay, so for me, I still think that if they want to introduce, we'll bring back at 5 to 6%. Same. But only thing is, and you can't expect the kind of exemption, previously. I don't think they will be, government has no, no space for that. Okay. So these are some of the things that, budget expectation. So if you have anything else, you can ask me later. Okay. And okay, the other thing that I also want to highlight here, there are a lot of people think that one way of stabilizing the ringgit is to bring back exchange control act, exchange control measures for exports. Okay. Previously, we had a few years ago, 2014, I think we had 75% and 25%. In other words, 75% of your exports receipts, exporters must convert, 75% must convert immediately into local currency. So if they do that, it is possible that currency may appreciate further and all that. In 1998, it was 100%, 100% receipts come in, you have to convert it. That kind of measures at that time. Now, no, they have slowly relaxed it, and 2021 they have completely removed that part. So then I asked the BNM governor, do you have any ideas to bring back this and all that? He told me that at the moment, based on their numbers, 65% of the uh, receipts, export receipts by exporters are being converted to ringgit immediately. Whether you have the ruling or not, the exporters, they are doing that, 65%. So, I mean, they asked me if I introduce at 75-25, another 10% only, well, how much that they can sort of like, appreciate the ringgit. What is not a concern in the minds of the central bankers, you can see that central bankers at the moment looking at the currency, local currency, as a stable. It's not volatile, like in the previous months. So it has been sort of like 464 to 465 or 466 for the month. Even now, currently is 467, 68. I mean, it is not one day up and 2 days down like that. So that is not a cause for concern at the moment. Okay, so please understand that. If you look at the inflation risk, okay, mainly from global developments, okay. So we think that government is looking at official estimate is 2.8 to 3.8%. Our expectation is about 2.8%. So going forward, we will be experiencing elevated core inflation, gradual subsidy regionalization. You can see a 70 to 80% subsidy like in the previous one. And if we look at the upside risk, higher global commodity prices due to worsening political conflict. Okay, already crude oil already like in the range of 94 USD already, 90 over $90. Higher imported input costs because of the current currency depreciation. Weaker global growth leading to more subdued commodity prices. These are downside risks, faster dissipation of domestic pent-up demand. Okay, in terms of OPR, Imran already mentioned earlier that BNM expected to maintain OPR at 3% in November or so. So going forward, that is the price we are looking at. If there is at least another, if you raise OPR another 25 basis points, will it help ringgit or not? No, I don't think so. Okay, 25 basis points can sort of like bring up the conversion exchange rate. Okay, RN. Okay, ringgit. Why? As I said, weakened because of global issues. US at that time, the fast weakening of the ringgit was due to debt ceiling standoff. Weaker than expected economic growth in trading partners like China. and even Vietnam also experiencing some problem. While some outflow is there, that is not avoidable. Okay, domestic residents converting their currency to other currencies, to Sing dollars and all that. But this exercise still remain below the previous peaks. On a positive front, we can expect positive account surplus. Okay, current account surplus will still be there at 1%. Net FDI also improving. International reserve position remain favorable. And the other one thing that is on a positive front is your fiscal deficit. Government is really very committed to bring down the fiscal deficit to around 3.5% by 2025. Okay. At the moment, it's around 4.5. Okay, will be brought down. Okay, and the government has introduced a new comprehensive restructuring to Madani economy. If you want to understand the Madani economic vision, first one is revitalizing the industrial sector to be more competitive. And second one is creating quality and higher paying jobs. And the third is position ourselves as a global competitive investment destination. Fourth is promoting a climate resilient and green economy. And fifth is to ensure sustainable fiscal position. And also recently we all come across the government has introduced another major plan ahead until 2030, that is industrial master plan. Industrial master plan is, they are targeting as much as around 500 billion, okay, plus to be invested, in selected manufacturing industries, okay, going forward, and that will create 3.3 million jobs, as a result of all this, injection of 500 over billion into manufacturing sector. That's so, and also overall GDP growth, local GDP growth is expected to increase by 1.5%. That means we are targeting about 6% growth for the country. Okay, these are the major things that going forward, we are expecting. And challenges I've already touched. And next, I'm not sure the Q&A is allowed now or later. I leave it to the organizers. Thank you very much for listening to my presentation. Okay, I'm not sure whether I'm still on the stronger mode, like before, because if you all please understand, it's already 2 years out of the industry. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Mano. It was a very insightful presentation.
Okay, thank you.
There are some questions at the chat box. I will read it to you. Okay, the first question: in your opinion, what other strategies, apart from cash assistance, can the government employ to mitigate the potential negative effects of subsidy rationalization on vulnerable or low-income populations?
Okay. Immediate short-term measure or most impactful measure could be when the subsidy rationalization, okay, just take your fuel subsidy. Yeah? When kind of a fuel subsidy is rationalized, people will be affected because of the change in price, at the pump, pump prices, change in pump prices and all that. So whether you like it or not, cash handout will be helpful. Okay, like, do you still remember at one time, um, Abdullah's administration, they gave where you can go and collect your cash, monthly 50 ringgit, 50 to 100 ringgit, from the post office. Something like that will be helpful. But apart from that, subsidy rationalization, at the moment, because the economy is very fragile and political situation is still not so stable, so this is the best way. But going forward, they should do some other measures, like the economic ministry has already created some, some extra job opportunities, second job opportunities. I think that is the target actually, the government has got at the moment. Yes. Anything else?
Okay, the next question, right? It has been mentioned that a more effective sugar pricing structure is being finalized. What are your thoughts on this, and what are the implications if there is a new sugar pricing structure?
Will be higher. Okay, internationally, the sugar price, the commodities have gone up, but it is under is one of the control price. So I'm looking at sugar price to rise further, and also don't forget your eggs. Eggs also, already like egg and then rice. All this is, the government, if government if cannot still keep it control price, it is going to be problem. Yes, you're confused.
Okay.
uh,
Okay. The next question. What are the potential long-term consequences of sustained high global commodity prices resulting from a combination of geopolitical tensions and extreme weather events? And how might this affect global economic stability and food security?
I think we must have a effective supply or effective the government got to learn from Indonesia. Okay, the Indonesia has imported rice and keep it into, as a safe, for the future. Like that, Malaysia also got to do. I mean, you can't help it. Globally, all these commodity prices are definitely is on the rising trend. And the important thing is for Malaysia or Malaysian government is to look at how to stabilize or, improve um, improve people's income. The first target for Madani government is to, they use the word nakta, kemiskinan, to remove the poverty totally. Then, in order to do all these poverty, I think as and when they introduce all these investment coming into the country, and as well as the industry master plan, the implementation, into the system, that will raise our income, overall median income, when it is raised to around, at the moment is around 2,000, okay, median median salary. If it is improved to, to around double this amount and all that, all these problems will be resolved. Yes.
Okay, any more questions from anyone?
Okay, Mano, Imran
Hi,
here.
Mano.
Yeah.
Okay, Dr. Nani, go ahead.
Mano, your view on inflation next year? Given that there's some policy changes coming up. This year, inflation is likely to be about 3+. Next year, I mean, on the stretch target, would it be double than that? Then your view, if say GST is implemented, what would be the inflation going to be? I know GST is quite speculative. There's no indication yet. They are doing the study. But I think in the equity market, we must understand when we think that GST will be implemented. My personal view, I think it's going to be 2025. But let's hear from you. GST and inflation.
I do agree. Okay, inflation target for this year is around 2.8%. Okay, for next year, it could be slightly higher in view of the subsidy regionalization. Okay, is around 3.2 to 3.5, percentage. For GST, I do agree. Where I'm expecting sometime in the budget, 2025 budget, will be introduced, and the rate they are looking at is about 5 to 6%, and inflate that will definitely will have impact on the inflation. Again, it could be on the modest, moderately high, around 3.5%. Have I answered your question, Nani?
Let's say at 5 to 6, we're going to get GST, we're going to get about 30 billion. At 4%, how much can we get? About 20 billion?
At 6% is about 40 billion. SST at the moment is around 32 billion. And if it is 4%, will be, yes, I agree, around 20 billion. So 20 billion will not be that much.
Yeah, okay. I'm a bit curious. The government is aiming to bring down the fiscal deficit. Now, we know that if you calculate back, the fiscal deficit is actually equivalent to the subsidy given. So now, how either they're going to bring down the subsidy to 3.5% by 2025, which is another 2 years, currently about 4 something. So 1% to the GDP, I think that is equivalent about 20 billion. Now, it's either they increase revenue or they cut costs. Now, which one, Manu? Do you think it's going to be both? Or if they're going to expand the revenue, where is it coming from? And then secondly, if they're going to cut costs, where is it also going to come from?
I think they are looking at, based on the discussion that I had recently, the government is looking at to cut your operational expenditure, but development expenditure will still be either stay put at the moment or slightly higher. But if you are looking for raising the revenue, we are looking at the effective collection of tax collection. In other words, is improved tax collection. I mean, bring back all the foreign money and all that. We'll have some higher revenue for this year, coming year.
Okay, so capital then gain tax is not going to be that much. Do you think?
CGT.
Yeah.
CGT, I don't think so.
It's not that much because I think
it's not for the so broking business. It's not on the broking business, but also CGT is maybe is a test case. You know, they want to test the sentiments, sentiment, whether they are okay.
Another thing, this year the government project GDP to be between 5. Next year it's about 5 to 5.5. Can you share where the growth driver going to come from? Manufacturing is a bit lackluster. What they call private consumption going to get a hit. So which is it only services that's going to drive the economy? We know that 2025 is a Visit Malaysia year, so that will be powered by, of course, services sector. But manufacturing, we have not yet seen a bottom. So where do you think the GDP growth going to come from 5 and 5.5 as mentioned recently during the 12MK?
5 to 5.5 for 24, is it?
Yeah.
I don't think so, because now this year also they cannot achieve or on the low end of growth target, which is around 4%. So for next year, growth can be better, 4.5 to 5%. That's my opinion. Going forward, maybe 2025 will be a good year, because the manufacturing services is on its already on its high note. Beyond that, there must be something new come in. Okay, what is the new thing that can be introduced? So in this sector, I mean, if we look at the services, is about 57%, 58% is contributing to growth. Manufacturing can contribute, at the moment is 24%. With the IMP, end 2030, they are expecting around 30%. So manufacturing sector, slow early introduction of all these IMP projects and the FDI and all that will increase to around 26-27%. So that is sectorial wise, that could be one area of contribution to GDP. And construction will be, will have a higher contribution to GDP in the coming years, because if we look at it, 15 billion has been added to the RNP, RNK 12, meaning that most of it is for construction projects.
Construction contribution to the economy is 7%. If any impact is quite not that great in my view so 7% is not that great. Is that private consumption going to get a hit?
Private consumption?
Yeah, because of subsidy rationalization. Have you said that?
At the moment, is private consumption, okay, even in a bad year, is still around 50%. Okay, so you add up another 20% from the FDI, private investment side, you can still stabilize your country. That is from the demand side. From the if you look at from the supply side, is 50 over percent, 57, 58, plus another 24 and then plus another 7%, as you say, from the consumption is enough already. I mean, almost like 80 to 80 over percent contribution to GDP. So that could be. The only thing is the government is very, very keen to tighten your leakages. You know, if they can tighten the leakages, I'm sure Malaysian economy, we have to look at it in a different way, yeah, because it's more towards domestic driven growth. Okay.
Mano, your view on OPR? You think OPR be status quo at 3, or for now? Before I ask my second question.
For now, yes. 2024, there could be. I mean, I'm not ruling out another 25% hike. That could come sometime May.
Next year.
What is that?
May next year? May next year, you think?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, I have a million-dollar question. I remember during Brexit, when they announced Brexit, and I can recall actually in 2018 when we implemented GST, should the subsidy rationalization is even, the impact is greater than expected, would there be a cut in OPR?
Subsidy regionalization, yes.
Yeah.
If the impact is greater, then you need to introduce some kind of a stimulus by way of cutting the rates. Yes, I agree.
Cutting the rate, so meaning if let's say it's announced get announced in October, so meaning the policy meeting in November there could be a cut lah. Because I don't think if they announce in October and only implement in 2024, there will be hoarding. There will be a lot of disruption to the economy. I think when they announce, they're going to implement immediately because there will be a lot of disruption in the economy. What do you think?
For me, I think cutting rates at the moment is raising rates have a more chances compared to cutting rates. At the moment is for the government authorities, they still think that growth can still be on above 3-4%. If growth comes below 3%, then you have to see some kind of policies that sort of like introduce fiscal stimulus. At the moment is that's what I'm saying. Chances of a hike is more than chances of bring it down.
Bring it down. So you think hiking, the prospect is higher than compared to moderating, yes, or normalizing, cutting the OPR.
Yes.
Okay, this is an issue that we don't like to mention, but we have to mention. You mentioned just now because of a little bit of political instability, you mentioned. We heard in the market that there could be a massive or cabinet reshuffle, which we heard, but we're not sure. But your view, if there is a cabinet reshuffle, in our view, this cabinet is very young. It's not even a year. So changing of guard, changing of the ministers, in all the minister, we remember what happened to MCMC when they changed the minister for communication. The 5G was stalled, development was stalled. So we heard there could be a cabinet reshuffle, which is quite major. So your view on this, if let's say if it is, what will be the impact to the market, your view economic-wise? Would that derail the government's, plan to actually revive, rejuvenate the economy?
If you ask me, there was only one minister, he did the job well, but unfortunately the God liked him too much. So you take him away from the from this universe. To me, the rest of them are all not performing well. That's why could be reshuffles. If there is a reshuffle, there will be some senior guys that may return to the cabinet. Okay, some senior guys means some people who have experience handling. Like you say, the 5G is not handled properly now compared to the previous minister. Who is that? The Singh.
Gobin.
Huh?
Gobin.
No. Yes, Gobind Singh. Gobind Singh handled it properly, but again, and also you can see some of these ministers from other parties, may be changed. You know, the only thing is must reduce the noise. My opinion is to reduce the noise, and also the prime minister must take a different approach. Like the other day in the parliament, he should have avoided, something like that. Anything and everything depends on the Plangai by-election. Okay, if Plangai can, if they can win, meaning that opposition is just noise makers, nothing more than that. So even the 6 state elections, 3 was status quo, so there is no change also, is it? They only make noise that they are going to capture Selangor, capture Penang, this and that. There's nothing has been done. So I would say that I expect any reshuffle, it will come after the Plangai. So October 3rd is the nomination. Okay, then 2 weeks from there will be the actual election, and the results will determine how they want to, reshuffle. When they reshuffle, I am sure, I'm sorry to say this, UMNO may lose a lot of casualty. Okay, the casualty might come from UMNO. I say just now, some of the old ones will come back. Okay, will be, at the moment is even DAP ministers are not performing well. Okay, my personal opinion is DAP ministers, some of the good ones are outside there. Okay, they can be brought back, but again, only 4 seats are available for them. DAP, Norway, they have about 6. Also, they must look at Johari Ghani. Johari Ghani is an heir, the finance. He should be given a chance to serve the finance ministry. And I don't want to, since you are recording, I think that's enough. But I'm sure I do agree with Nani. The current cabinet is very immature. They don't have, they are not sure how to handle the problem, the racket problem. Even the PM also cannot. If you want to change the government, who can be the replacement? Tell me, who can be the replacement? Huh?
Manu,
I still don't understand. Yes.
I think
Sorry to
in
go
our
into politics
presentation
too
to
much.
the clients, we did mention that this government is a young government. So, but Malaysian, I think we have been very impatient for the last 5 years. So we didn't or we don't give them enough time for them to perform their best. However, the rakyat has been what you call have been inundated with a lot of political circles for the last 5 years. So I guess that's why these are the people who thinks that they can perform better than the previous government. So I guess that's why the rakyat are really what do you call evaluating their performance. Tapi nonetheless, we hope that if there is a cabinet reshuffle, it's for the better. Yeah, we hope that lah, because this current government is to stay until 2027. So it's a long time to go, and we need the economy to actually rebound and recover. We just had this very great headwinds before. So I think that's why we hope that if there is there is a reshuffle, cabinet reshuffle, it's for the better lah. We hope if you have to bring in the what they call the senior people, the experienced people, by all means do that, because we want to see the economy at the very we close the gap at least with the regionally like Singapore or to Indonesia. I think, Mano.
If you ask my personal opinion, Nani, I want to see a lot of professionals to come into, you know, to be part of the cabinet. Okay. And especially people like, just I mentioned, Johari Ghani is a good finance man there. And even Tunku Razali is a good finance man also. You should bring him back and all that. I'm sure, uh, again, the nomination from the parties, I think should be avoided. I think the prime minister must be given the free hand to choose the people. If you ask the leaders of parties to nominate and all that, I don't think you will get some good people. Then and again, there will be all the recycled people will be coming in. Sorry
Mm-hmm.
to say this way.
Yeah. Okay, Mano, we should catch up very soon. Chris, over to you if there is other few questions. Sorry that I dominated the floor.
Okay, yeah, Mano, there are a few more questions. Okay, the next one is what is your view on China's growth in 2024, and what are the any impact to the Malaysian economy?
I have already answered this, I think, in my presentation. Okay, growth-wise for China is at the moment is they are looking at 5%, right? I'm looking at a slower growth for next year. And why slower growth is because of all the issues that I highlighted, the property sector, okay, then and also unemployment. Youth unemployment is a real big issue. If you go back to a few years ago, MENA crisis, MENA, isn't it? Middle East one, okay, happened because of rising youth unemployment. So that's my view on China. And why, then your second part is how it can affect your exports. China is one of the major trading partner, okay, and also major investor into the region. So if they are slowing down, so the investment coming into the picture will be slowing down also. Okay, so that's how it will affect. Yes.
Okay, thank you. The next one, have there been any unintended consequences or challenges associated with the subsidy rationalization?
My opinion on this subsidy regionalization, the government can do if they really have the willpower. Have I answered? They don't have, even if they want to do it, they have to consult these fellow, I mean, these fellows, that fellows. All this is not going to help. Okay. Yes, Chris. Chris cannot hear you. You're mute.
Sorry.
Ah,
Are there any structural issues or vulnerability in the Malaysian economy that have led to periodic setbacks in growth?
again,
Are there any structural issues?
structural issues is your Malaysian, have too much of price controls, and price regionalization cannot be implemented, although they know it's a better. And GST is another issue that can be, is still being challenged. These are the structural issues. Other than that, we also have another one thing that we all must understand is this fiscal deficit has been there almost like nearing 30 years now. Nearing 30 years, and still you cannot address, still cannot uh, bring the surpluses. For your information, way back when Anwar became the finance minister, he brought in, he was successful in converting the deficit to surplus. And during that few years, it was surplus, when Anwar was the finance minister. Likewise, I trust that he can do it again. Hello?
Okay. Any more last questions? Or Encik Imran, do you have anything to ask Mr. Manu?
Hey, Mano, going back to China, we know that China economy is not doing very well, but we know that the Chinese government is being injecting some pump priming stimulus to kickstart back the economy. For example, like they cutting the lending rate, and then they also putting some stimulus to help support their property sectors and so on. Do you think that all these stimulus still lacking in pushing up their economy, or it will take time for them to come in and see some changes in the Chinese economy?
If you ask me, all these measures, some are okay, some are, like incentives to capital, property sector. I think that is going to be, the impact will be slower. Overall, I look at it, 2025 could be the year for globally, you can see some recovery effect there. So China, you have to wait, okay? Because you see too much of overheating already. The next economy that you should, as an investors, look at India. Okay, when I say this, you may think that I have I am biased or what, but look up for Indian stocks. Okay, I think we move on to the next this one. What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much, Manu, once again for this insightful presentation and all the Q&As. Okay, let me share my screen again. Thank you, Manu.
Okay, can I share?
Wait, hold on. Let me introduce Mr. Pubalan first.
Okay.
Okay, so the next session we will have Mr. Pubalan, who is a special officer in the Prime Minister's office. So a brief introduction on So Mr. Pubalan has, hold on. Okay, Mr. Pubalan has 23 years of experience across diverse fields since year 2000. His passion in lifelong learning has helped him to serve in various industries from manufacturing, community development, and human resource. And he is well versed in managing multiple projects with a vision resulted in many success stories. He has played key roles in enhancing education policies and designing various social interventions projects targeting undeserved communities nationwide. Under his leadership since 2019, industrial skills framework have been published, and he was the lead coordinator for 19 sectorial training community, which covers 63 subsectors under manufacturing, services, and mining and quarry sectors. Okay, Mr. Pubalan, maybe you can go ahead and share your screen.
Yeah, thank you, Chris. Allow me to share my screen first.
Okay, sure.
Give me minutes. Is it visible for your side?
We still can't see the slides.
Can't see the slide. Hold on. I'm technical.
Okay, we can see.
Okay, thank you.
Maybe you want to enlarge. You want to enlarge it?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Okay, you can start.
Yeah. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so all, thanks for the opportunities and great to meet you in the platform. And then thanks for Mr. Manu as well introducing me to the forum. First of all, again, Salam Malaysia Madani. And then I want to brief the ladies and gentlemen today. I was sharing some information based on Madani and economic Madani. There's a new concept announced by our Honorable Prime Minister to establish another dimension of platform, a better nation. So Madani basically have 6 pillars which we fall back. We name it sustainability, care and compassion, respect, innovation, prosperity, and trust. Okay, so generally, sustainability, normally people concept sustainability as a natural or environmental based issue, but here under the Madani concept, we talking about, or we are inclusive about not only the environmental factor, but also the rural communities and as well urban communities, as well as the families or individuals. So we conceptualize sustainability is a comprehensive stakeholders enhancement, not only referred to any segment or any area only. Under Madani, sustainability is a comprehensive human and nature. That's a basic concept under the first pillar of sustainability. Second, we talk about care and compassion, love for others, your neighbors or community, as well members of other community amenities. Because we, as a multiracial country, we must be in a stand unite any time forever. Make sure so that a nation can progress in a upward. So we Madani define care and compassion is one of the core things which we care for each others, despite our different religious practice or belief or language. Third, we talk about respect. Our intent is to call a mutual respect and just Malaysian society dedicated to inclusion, equality, integrity, and human rights. We want to treat, we want to have more mutual respects and treat each and every human being is equal, and then provide necessary opportunities and access so that everyone can progress in a positive manner. The fifth one is the innovation. So Pandanic culture is to build a culture of innovation within the Malaysian society and take the nation from being primary consumer of the active contributor to the digital and technology. So we want to move from just a consumer society to a contributors with the revolution of the technology and changing the globe. Last one is the prosperity. Madani, we are very much grounded to the people, means Raya, the majorities. So we want to create a prosperous Malaysia through balanced and sustainable economic growth, empowerment, and inclusivity of every citizen, despite their regions, their grade, their races, whatever, and due regard to the spiritual, holistic well-being of individual communities and the nation. So this Madani pillar, or the sixth one, is the restoring and dignifying trust within the Malaysian society, in effect to redevelop and fortify our national cohesion between the government and the people. We want to make sure people and the government are getting more closer to understand each other, and Malaysia can build a better future for all Malaysians, despite their income, despite their race or religion. That is the Madani, which is a comprehensive development to bring Malaysian to a better level. So this is a basic idea of this Madani government or Madani concept. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to go through again to our key challenges now. What as a country we are facing now. One is generally deterioration of governance. As you are aware, the corruption index from 1998 about we stand at 29 place, now reduced to 61. Almost we fall back about 3 factors down, which is very bad as a country to progress or attract investments. Second, economy become more domestically driven, which is in a slower rate of trade. Malaysia, basically, I think gentlemen here are aware, we are trading nation. We are very much depend on how good we are trade. If our trade is reduced, it impact our income, GDP, which is a hamper overall development. Third, labor share, low labor share of income. We found out that based on year 2022, only 32%, 32.4% of income accrues to the workers, which we think it should be increased gradually, so that the people, working class people, have a better income, so that they enjoy the prosperity, growth of this country. Not only certain segment of the people enjoy, the other parts still looking for the basic support or depending on the government for various subsidies or cash and all. Fourth, low median and mean wages income. So in 2021, our median wages is 2,250 and mean wages about 3,037. Almost even B40 families, they're talking about 4,800 household income. So we need to look at the way to increase the median and mean wages. So currently at this rate, we are how people may struggle based on the current inflation and so on. So other challenges are low female labor force participation rate. In 2021, only the 55.5% female participating compared to men about 80.9. But this is contrary, if you observe enrollment in, as example, public universities, okay, 70% is dominated by female, but in the labor market, it's the otherwise. So we think female, beside the government or individual, spend a lot on the education. We need to create the path they contribute back to the growth of economy or success of the country. So we should, there's a lot of measures in the plate so that women come back to active economic as an economic force. 6, accelerated accumulation of the national debt. This is ongoing hot topics always. We are now stand at 60% of the GDP our debt, and I think our honorable prime minister is working hard to reduce the debt. Physical, our target is by 2030 at least our physical debt or stay at 3% or lower. That's our target. And 7th challenge is a decline in investment of GDP. I think before 1998, was a kind of a golden era for Malaysia. It's a stand at 40%, and for post 1998, it continues declining. And unfortunately, the pandemic also have a hard hit on us, not only us, the global phenomena. So we need to revamp back or rebounce back to get a better investment. And then that's why we have look at the new measures, how to attract more investor, not only just investment, but high-end, high-tech, which create more jobs or higher income jobs. 8, falling competitive edge globally. We are now keep dropping from the competitive rank from 14 in 1997 to 27 in the 2023. I think it may hamper our ambition to become high income nation or developed country. So number 9 is persistent and unequally distributed poverty. Even though generally we are observing our GDP growth, economic prosperity, but certain part of the states still have double-digit poverty levels, which is we think is not fair, because we must have we need to reduce the gap of the disparity of income among the rakyat. So over 400,000 households living in poverty, which is quite a big number. So government Madani working hard to overcome or reduce the household poverty, especially PM committed to make a full stop for the hardcore poverty by end of this year. So these are major key challenges we observe in the general of our Malaysian economics. Ladies and gentlemen, let me touch on this economic Madani, empowering people or rakyat. So what is the beauty of this economic Madani concept is we are not talking about raise the ceiling or become a giant, economic giant or tiger of the Asia, but we also at this time have a balancing about provide quality and just life for our people. So we have these both pillars we need to work together. First thing to raise that, we call it raise the ceiling. I mean, we want to become leader in the Asian economy. First thing we need to become a very competitive and world-class investment destination, digital and innovation-led industries, global leader in Islamic finance, and the micro and small medium enterprises as regional champions, security and sustainability of economy. Besides, we're talking about investment or becoming global leader or regional leaders. We also should not forget about uplifting our rakyat, which people should have a respectable job or decent income, equality and inclusive opportunity, no one be discriminated at any point of time, and universal access to education and healthcare service, and world-class basic infrastructure and public services, and social protection. We must be very careful, and then we are very government are working very hard to make sure that everyone protected. We have a hard-learned lesson during the pandemic. So I think social protection is one of the main agenda on the government side. So how are we going to do this? Is synergy between rakyat, government, and industry, in the spirit of a unity. Good governance. Without good governance, anything. For me, I will the wealth pot is leaking. No point in adding wealth, but if there's a leaking. So the good governance is very fundamental, and we must agile and collaborative enough in a delivery system, so that because our environment, our geopolitics is not that stable or a lot of challenging. So we must be agile to adapt to the current needs or anticipated near future challenges. So as I told earlier, we anchored Madani values, sustainability, care and compassion, respect, prosperity, and trust in order to raise the ceiling and raise the floor. So we're balancing both. We are not talking about certain people become more high income, but a majority will be left out. But we want to inclusive enough to every sector, every region, every individual have a decent life in Malaysia. So under the economic Madani, our aims is become a top 30 largest economy in the world and top in 12 in the global competitiveness and top 25 of the Human Development Index and increase share level of 45% from the 30, 34, 32 now to 45%. That's why where we can compensate or raise the floor and improve Malaysian position in the corruption perception. That's another critical challenges. We want to do away with the kleptocracy. Malaysians are easily to bribe all this. No business anymore. Okay, I think the current cabinet ministers are very strong on this message to riot as well. And toward physical sustainability, targeting deficit at 3% or better. I think Mr. Mano covered just now. Prior to during the current prime minister was a finance minister have done surpluses. So we also hoping for this kind of good indication in near future. And then increase the female labor participation rate from 55 now to 60%. This is the key indicators we're going to measure where we are on the success of the economic Madani. Dear ladies and gentlemen, I will go into details on these two pillars. I explained earlier about the raising the ceiling. Basically, raising the ceiling means rebuilding the Malaysian home by regionalizing our business. Our economic with a 32 million population is quite small compared to even our neighbors, Thailand or the Philippines, kind of Vietnam, another greater competitors for us now. Okay, so that's why Malaysia is a geography, location, and experience with a good infrastructure and talent. We think we can build become a leader in the regional, especially the ASEAN. So Malaysia has a small economy. So we look at the three strategies. One is a persuade trade diplomacy and strategic arrangement. Not only we are talking about what we call just bilateral trade or free trade agreement, but we're also working on a strategic manners, how to work together as a regional supplier, so complement each other needs so that we can become a regional player, because Asian has a good market, about 600 plus million of our population, and third in Asia's economics as a bloc. So we think we can influence and play a strategic role if we have a proper diplomacy and strategic arrangement between the Asian country. Second, facilitate the movement of good capital, people, and knowledge, because of the Asian arrangement, the Asian relationship is not new. So I think because of the culturally we are also similar, a lot of working arrangement was there. So we need to go advanced on this, facilitate not only the goods, capital, people and knowledge also be commonly recognized, also kind of things, so that we can have an advantage to capture needs, not only the capital needs, also the people's and knowledge. And support the regional expansion of Malaysian firm. Malaysian firm need to be pushed so that go beyond Malaysia, go beyond our borders, so that especially go to our neighbors like Thailand or Vietnam or Cambodia, which is now emerging market. Even Indonesia is very much an active, positive note towards economic development. So there's a lot of opportunities available, which our local enterprises must capture the opportunity. So the advanced second strategy is boosting and harnessing economic complexity to reverse premature industrialization. Especially, I think, ladies and gentlemen, recently we have launched a new industrial master plan we look at the master plan, this is the first time Malaysian industry plan is moved from the sectorial-based approach to kind of a mission-based approach, which is we think is a greater move, a greater strategy, because nowadays the industry we can't think about based on sectorial. Let a lot of enablers influencing growth of the sector or economics. Example, ICT or information technology or digital technology is influencing across the sector. Not even people might not think IoT involved in agriculture. Nowadays, a lot of influence. So we are moving from the sectoral-based approach to the mission-based approach, which across the sector. So particularly on this industry master plan, we want advanced economy. We want manufacturing move toward more advanced product, adapting more advanced technology, so that we can create high-value jobs. Okay, our product will get a more return of income. That's the idea to move to the advanced economic complexity. Shift from focus from sector to national mission, which I want to identify not only sector economic growth or sectorial growth, but it also encompasses various factors like technology growth or income growth and so on. And besides that, we also encourage domestic direct investment as one of the KPI to measure the success. Because Malaysia is a small country, bringing the foreign investment, one of the indicators or measures foreign investors look at how much the domestic investors are investing in their own country. If our local people didn't have invest or poor sentiment of poor trust on our economics, I don't think so foreign investor will come in. That's why current government are putting DDI as a KPI so that we can attract more investors from the outside. Third, globally competitive investment destination. This is another thing. So we want, as a regional player, we want to be a strengthened investment promotion agency. Promotion agency under the MIDA will be strengthened to attract investment, not only conventional but also a new area. I think not a big player agreed to bring in investments like Elon Musk, okay, Bosch, and these sort of people have agreed to become the new technology furthermore. Second, revised incentive to promote quality investment. We're not only talking about a tax incentive, but beyond various incentives, including bringing the foreign talent, so that investors have a better opportunity or better understanding to invest in Malaysia. Besides that, upgrade infrastructure and upskill human capital to meet the investor need. Malaysians are always greater in human capital, so that we are working towards continuous lifelong learning for our rakyat, so that people have a competitive advantage. So investor may agree to come in because we have a right talent pool. And then reasserting leadership, Islamic finance. You all aware that Malaysia always in pioneer in Islamic finance, started from the Tabung Haji, Bank Islam, and so on. And we are one of the Islamic finance leader in the world. We have a proper framework and structure, and almost 40%, 45% of the finance market, Islamic finance market. So we want to reasserting our leadership, including now the merging center will go to fintech kind of things. So we as an Islamic country.
Yeah, your mind.
Alan, can you make your slide in the presentation mode? Dr. Nani here.
I think, sorry. Okay. Is it okay now? Sorry. Yeah. Okay, is that about the digitalization? I think enhancing digitalization adaptation across the state, firms, and society. Today, everything is digitalized. Start from individual life to operating nation. Okay, it's a digitalized. So we want to promote digital adaptation by companies through the matching grant. There's a lot of matching grant from various agencies, from MOSTI, from MDAC and so on. It's a lot of opportunity available, people to convert their company towards more adapting digitalization. Second, digital ID. These are things coming up and getting attention. Now people using my card, so it's going to be very digitalized and escalate, so that every applications, every processes or requests or investment process will be more seamless, more faster, so that we can attract not only Malaysian but also the foreigners too, coming to Malaysia, choose to Malaysia as a investment. And then the 5G dual network rollout, industry like to drive enterprise solution. I think Kementerian Communication Digital looking hard on this 5G implementation, and we are very sure people like Starlink are coming in, so rollout will be more faster than expected. And fifth, strengthening firms of all sizes and maturity. In the process of the national economic growth, we don't discriminate big companies or small companies. We want everyone play their significant role, so that everyone can contribute to the growth of the economy, job creation and income creation. So in order that we want to improve the innovation and venture the ecosystem. Second, harness local talent and attract talent to Malaysia. Besides harness the local talent, we may attract right talent from various, one of the initiatives, digital nomad. We want to bring foreigners as a Malaysian talent and promote export orientation for medium, small, and micro enterprises. That's one of the strategy to support Malaysia become a regional leader. We want to encourage our local MSMEs to participate or export their product and services. And fourth, regenerate capital market to spur the firm transformation. We want our capital market to revamp to meet the need of the transformation according to the current needs. The sixth strategy is a micro or local business and the informal sector. So 79% of the SMEs landscape consists of micro enterprise sector, whatever. And then this 79% should not be neglected, because they are a very significant part of this business community. So we want to increase their potential through various support. Example, government are working on the initiative Pendapatan Rakyat to nurture more MSMEs, and by the firm, we have BIMB Putra Render Development, digital marketplace for MSME, and increase access to financing. Various finance scheme being available. Even yesterday, cooperative minister announced something through the SME banks, where a lot of SMEs can utilize their financial needs through the loan schemes. Seventh, growth to promote climate resilience. Everywhere we go, in every aspect, we can feel people talking about global warming, net carbon or zero carbon. So government never neglected this agenda. We want to be inclusive. It means we can't separate environment and us. We can't do economics by compromising environment anymore. So the government include implementation of recently announced this national energy policy, energy transition roadmap. So the key pillars under the national energy transition roadmap is increase, people call RE, this renewable energy, generation capacity. People go more on solar. Like Sarawak, they have started to do the hydrogen SRSR for their buses. So I think we can learn from them and implement in the peninsula as well. And developing a renewable energy-based self-contained system, or the CUCS, or waste to energy kind of a scheme or initiative being underway. And install solar panel on government buildings. The government, I want to take a pilot step. I mean, they are going to be example. So they are working on this, and I think a lot of initiative there for individuals also domestically install solar panel at their home, and promote new green growth area. I think investor, you all aware that EV is another getting attention. With a lot of big players from China will coming in, set up in EV production in Tanjung Malin and so on. And the effect will spill over. The demand for the other parts or services for the EV production will capture attention. Besides that, the hydrogen and CCUS, I think Petronas committed to build more CCUS than the multi-billion investment, which pioneering project will start in the South China Sea near Sarawak. And then everyone's concerned, food security. So we must ensure continuity of supply for critical items. The hot topic today is about rice, which is staple product from Malaysians. And then we have some supply change, and then government are working towards sustain our supply to avoid any unrest situation. Or because it's a very staple food and it may multiple effect on other food as well, because rice is a fundamental staple food. So this is because of the geopolitical tension, the supply chain affected, or the climate change as well have influenced the production or the quality. I think recently India itself has stopped exporting rice. Okay, so people are taking more precaution measure because of this geotension politics as well as the climate change, which affect the production or quality of the food, or crops or food production. So we must bolster food security nationally. Our three methods going to be applied is employ agro-technology to increase local productivity. Our SSL rate for certain key products, including rice, meat, or dairy products, are still lower. Some vegetables are still lower. So maybe the employ of a technology, IoT or kind of things may increase the productivity. So a lot of schemes or training available so that farmers can adopt this kind of new technology to improve their yield. Then establish win-win free trade agreement, especially among the region, so that the food supply not affected or become a threat to the national security and people's daily life. And government also working towards optimize unutilized land, including the big landowners like the Sandabi or Felda. The land being not only currently they are mostly using for conventional plantation and palm oil plantation. They are now looking at option to integrated farming concept. Even Felda is venturing to cash crops and even what they call cattle farms and so on, because they can utilize, optimize their land bank. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that's for the raising the ceiling. I will shift to the another pillar, raising the floor. So basically, our motto here is championing social justice to improve the quality of life of Rakyat. We can't be proud enough if most of the Rakyat or people still waiting for cash handout or subsidy or welfare support system. So we can proud of that we are a growth economy, we are reaching 6%, 7% of the GDP, national GDP growth, but there's a lot of people fall under the poverty line. So even 50% of the workforce was told that receiving less than 2,250 per month, especially young graduates. And then the savings, old-timer savings also are lesser. So this all we can proud of. Then we can justify our growth and our achievement if majority are suffering. So that's why Madani are pushing for the social justice to improve the life quality of the rakyat. How we going to do this is promote upward social mobility. So the two-pronged approach is decent income and decent job. We want a fair income for better standard living. That's the way now we are working from the minimum wage and so on. We want to shift our model to a progressive base, which support by the productivity. Maybe a lot of the economy industry are worried, or if the cost of the production or cost of the manpower going to increase. Yes, for sure, but if we can justify through the proper upskilling and reskilling, raise the productivity, I don't think so wages become an issue. And reduce dependency on the unskilled foreign labor, which apply with the various technology, we can have a better decent income for our local people. And then the decent job, we want a working condition respectful and a fundamental right. We don't want any discrimination on the wages about among the male and female, among the races and so on. We want our legislation to safeguarding every working condition and promote automation and legislation enforcement be strong, so that each and every individual is safeguarded, and then they feel because one of the Madani concept is dignity. We want to have people have a proper life. Second, we want to raise the level of social protection for all. As you are aware, a lot of people have lost their old age saving, like EPF saving during the pandemic and so on. So we need to look at. So we have three kind of things: protect, prevent, and protect. One, protect as social assistance is raise the safety net to a minimum acceptable level. Second, social insurance. Now the EI system in place, and we want to look at extend IPF as also mandatory coverage and various value-added services through the entity. And then enhance income generating capacity for the workforce. A lot of people may depend on the active income only because of the retail investor or small investor EBITDA may support working to have some passive income so that they have a good life even post retirement. So equal opportunities. We as a Malaysian always proud of things. We want do away with inequality, especially on the gender, support working mothers, access to childcare service, this female labor participation. Okay, this is the way, because most of the women have a good access to higher education nowadays. 70% in IPT, public universities are women, but labor force is a 55%. So we think we must give some time, because we as a Asian culture, Malaysian culture, women have also higher role play in a domestic level. So some people may take leave from the work, and then so we need to look at the working arrangement as well. Why not a hybrid working mode with the advance of technology, working from home kind of a schemes to assist or prepare access to childcare services, so we can encourage women participation in the active economy. And community equitable opportunity education, we want to must create good opportunity, access to opportunity for everyone in Malaysia, despite their regional concept or they are in a rural or urban. We must create access for everyone to have a proper basic education. And second is addressing youth unemployment. Generally, unemployment rate is about 3.5% now, but youth employment at 6%. We need to encourage and ensure our people, our youth, be trained properly or equipped with proper skills and knowledge so that they are apt to the job market. And then beside the promoting employment, we also look at a set of entrepreneurship mindset among Malaysians. We trading nation, we may need more dynamic entrepreneurs, more new startups. So we must encourage our people shift their mind from the conventional employment as well, adapt to the entrepreneur's role play. And then also ethical recruitment and workplace to avoid any discrimination in place by gender, by race, and so on. By the region, we want to give a regional growth a priority as well, with a specific industry policy, world-class infrastructure in rural and urban. If you look at our new industry master plan, most of the state will advantage on the master plan will be the East Coast, Terengganu and Pahang. The north is Kedah and Perak, which even though some state people say it's a opposition state or ruled by opposition, but we never discriminate. We want every Malaysian is inclusive. We want every region, every state a growth parallelly. That's why quite impressive the new industrial plan which Madani government we treat everyone as a rakyat, Malaysian. Universal healthcare from cradle to grave. I think healthcare is another, beside education, healthcare is another getting a very greater attention from Madani government. Based on the white paper published recently, we want to transition to community-based care, shifting from the treatment to prevention. A lot of work need to be done to create awareness, education, and so on, because we can't continue do the intervention, which is very costly affair. So better we go on the prevention mode and ensure sustainability and just healthcare financing. A lot of schemes, insurance schemes are available, which are given government also coming in to provide like a PECA, B40, Tenang previously. All these will sustain the healthcare financing and strengthen healthcare management platform and system. Government are looking towards that. Even government are committed to increase up to the 5% of the GDP for the healthcare spending, now about 3.5. Fifth, the educational and human resource reform. So this is even we have a dedicated minister to run on the institutional reform activities. So first thing, we are strengthening at the basic education, access to quality education for all. We can't discriminate any citizen without proper education. So second, ensure no one is left behind. People have may have different interests, different needs, or different ambition. So everyone, despite their backgrounds, from income group, whatever, they shouldn't be left behind. And world of community involvement, we want to encourage collective participation, not only government, we want the individual, the non-profit business community come together to push to the agenda to strengthen our basic education so that we have a continuous have a greater talent pool so that we can sustain our economy or drive our economy further. In order to that, adopt more progressive paradigm is lifelong learning. Those days, during my school days, people say you are graduated means you are settled. Now it's not such, because as today's knowledge or science today's are obsolete because of the advance of technology, dynamic of the industry, geopolitical situation. So we must have a continuous learn and understand, learn and unlearn ourselves so that we can equip with ourselves with the latest knowledge about the technology, working environment, psychology, whatever area we involve. So lifelong learning is the way forward. Okay, nobody can say I have a degree, I have a master, I have concluded my study. No, it's every day you should learn, you should read, you should attend some training, because now the opportunity is there. Like a Corp Universal Development Corporation Agency, they are providing the e-Latih platform, which every Malaysian can go and learn. Even there's more than 1,000 courses for free. So I think besides that, there's a lot of learning tools available now. Second, government willing trying to introduce a global institute for future talent, especially the TVET training for the youth. TVET become another core skills, especially for a country working on pay highly attention to the manufacturing. So TVET is very, very critical. There's a lack of understanding among general public or youth on the TVET. The assumption is TVET is something low class workers or whatever, or previously blue collar workers, right? So it's no more TVET now. Is I think most of the TVET workers are earning more than the doctors and lawyers itself nowadays. So technician engineers are getting more better pay from the market. So we need to educate, encourage our youth take up the TVET or enhance their STEM knowledge. To ensure rakyat access, rakyat enjoy the prosperity growth of the country, we want a basic infrastructure for all. Rural road connectivity, I think ECL is another big project, not only to spur the economy, but also the convenient for the people to people mobility and urban public transportation, various buses scheme, the place in major town, like Penang going to have LRT. So all these are underway so that people have a good mobility experience. And second, universal access to clean water and electricity. I think a lot of, especially in our East Coast state, in Sabah and Sarawak, they have some difficulty because of the geographic and economic. So we want to ensure that they have access for the good clean water and electricity. And the internet quality and affordable service. There's a joke people say, right? Now we can live without Wi-Fi, but not Wi-Fi. So it means the internet now become integral part of our daily living. We cannot disconnect anyway. We want to be in connection so that we sound leaf lah. If not, we disconnected, mean we are considered dead. So internet, the tools or utilities are very, very critical. If we ask me personally, I think internet should be declared as beside the water, electricity, and internet become the national utilities agenda, so that everyone from the preschool up to higher education institution or 5 year the early childhood until the people retired people should have good internet access and affordable services. we need to get a more affordable service, so the cheaper cost for that internet. 7, housing. Besides education, healthcare, housing, that's another critical area which through our Ministry of Local Government Development, we are working on a national housing blueprint to promote affordable housing for all, ensure supply is guided by more meaningful metrics, continue provision of a public housing to develop vibrant rental market, and develop new home ownership model so that the low income bracket group are not left out without basic necessities. Because B40 families, most of them highly spend on that home rental, which is a big burden for their income. So that government are working way to make sure, especially low income group, access to housing ownership. So that's all, ladies and gentlemen. Hope it gives some brief with a bit more understanding about the economic Madani economy. So I proceed to our MC today. Sorry, I did last year.
Thank you very much on the presentation. Okay, something new for us, huh? Okay, there are some few questions in the chat box. Let me read out for you. Okay, on the digitalization topic, right? Since it's the end of September and we haven't received any recent updates on 6G single networks to 5G dual networks, do you think there might be a delay in its implementation?
Yeah, I think there's some delay currently because the political situation, change in government and so on. But whoever in the government or in the ministerial position, because people talking about reshuffle or whatever, I think this agenda is still there, and people must work because the 5G network is a mix for the economic and community. Okay, it's not driven by any political agenda. It's driven by the needs. You cannot discriminate. Maybe it's delayed now. I think next budget we can see some way forward on this measure.
Okay, and the next question, right, still on the digitalization topic, okay, as you mentioned on the growing digitalizing developments, what are your thoughts on the demand for data centers in Malaysia? Do you think we have enough supply?
So far there's no much critical complaint about this need, but I think the big player have shown a keen interest. Even Microsoft and Microsoft engaging, but it's not major discussion enough. But the arrangement going on to bring in big player to set up more data center, because we want to be not only for the Malaysia, we want to be a regional data center hub. So it's a bigger ambition. So very soon a lot of new news will come out on this data center.
Okay, the next question, right? Madani highlights 7 mission targets, and one of it is to make Malaysia as one of the world's 30 largest economies by 2033. But as of 2022, Malaysia ranked 37 globally by GDP and 34th if you look at GDP per capita. So the question is, by aiming to rank top 30, what is the benchmark being used? Is it GDP or GDP per capita? And in your opinion, how can the government achieve this, given that the target deficit of 3% is to be reached as well?
Yeah, I think possible. We target as a GDP at the 30th in the world, based on this forecast of this FDI inflow and local development, and also the regionally, the Asian countries are booming. So we have some competitive advantage among our peers in Asia and become a lot of take advantage of the regional economy as well as our internal strength, which we can pull in our FDIs and DDI, plus the regional growth expansion of our business. That's a possible, highly possible we can reach, even particular for manufacturing sector. We are now about 344 billion ringgit capacity. We are targeting next 7 years about 589, about 600 billion capacity. I think that's a highly possible, provided we able to attract high value investment. That's the key. Not only investment, it's a high value investment, so that we can heading or lead the other economic around our region.
Okay, and then the next one, right? What are the distinct goals and objectives of memakmurkan rakyat bersama and Malaysia Madani in the context of RMK 12? And how do they contribute to Malaysia's development priorities? And what role does the okay, you maybe you answer the first question first.
Okay. we think for Madani, we don't people want to balance the growth with the people enjoy the prosperity. Okay, we can't be as I told earlier. I think economic keep growing, but the disparity of income or the poor group become larger. So we think it's not a right. So we want everyone enjoy the prosperity, the growth, the economics. Even latest revision of the RMK 12 as to support the growth or the sustainability of the lower income group. I think PM was much care on the lower income group. A lot of measures, even the rational subsidization, is must be in place so that government subsidized value reach the needy. Okay, for a simple layman examples. Let's say I'm driving a BMW. Okay, another my poor friend riding let's say Myvi. Okay, why I am enjoying the same subsidy for RAW 95 with the poor guys? If I afford to buy this luxury car 7 Series or whatever, why I cannot take my own fuel? Why did the government from the Rakyat tax money or national wealth spending on me, which I can afford? That's the way, the basic rationalization. We need to look at way to support this bottom income group so that they also can enjoy. We are not saying making them T20 immediately, but make sure they enjoy as a decent life. They are not hampering. 60 billion going for subsidy out of a 300 billion budget, 60 billion or 80 billion going to subsidy is a huge burden on the government part. If we can rationalize and bring, and we can maybe compensate more to the needy so that they can have a better life, and at least the poor family have a better access to educations, better access to internet facilities and so on, because they have some surplus cash flow, which will uplift the community, and then as a nation growth will be greater. Thank you.
Okay, and then there's a follow-up question. And what role does the concept of inclusive development play in both memakmurkan rakyat bersama and Malaysia Madani? And how is it operationalized differently or similarly in each approach?
It's a different case by case. I think a generic approach based on our policy document is we don't want anyone left out. We want everyone taken care. Example, I give you the investment policies or business policy, the economic model is not only for the bigger companies. We also be paying more attention, equal attention, or greater support for the MSME, micro, especially micro or gig workers. Another trend, the gig workers spending going up. We need to take care of them, not only on the providing economic opportunity, but also on the social nets for the gig workers. Let's say I'm a Grab driver today. I didn't have, let's say, previously we have no EPF, we have no SOCSO, right? Then something happened to these families or this individual, it may affect the family as well, because this may be the breadwinner. So we are looking at the mechanism, not the inclusivity, not by the individual, also by the region, but by the income bracket, all be covered through our policy. That's why government are scaled down up to the micro enterprise to support them and make them, even some SMEs should go for the regional business.
Okay, and the next question, right? Besides cash handouts for B40, do you think the government have provided enough in terms of quality of living for the B40 and low M40 community? Like example, the supply of affordable homes.
Yes, we are. We didn't. I didn't say that we are. We can do. There's a lot of area to be improved, especially housing and healthcare. Okay. I used to observe because I used to involve a lot of this non-profit work in previous job. So I think there's a lot of gap to reach the poor. So one of the way we lobby is a targeted subsidy because always government say that our resources are limited. So targeted subsidy is one of the way to subsidize. But cash handout is an interim measure because it cannot be. We need to empower or educate, make sure that poor people have equal access to education or training and upskilling or skilling. Example, let's say I'm looking at one company, A company, have 100 workers. Okay. But how much of the low income group have opportunity to reskill, upskill? Every time, based on my experience and engagement with the industry, only the supervisor above will attend various training to upskill, reskill themselves. But 60-75% of the workers level never attended training because the owners or the management in the view, hey, my production people are very critical. If they're gone, my productivity drop. So this kind of mentality we must do away, create opportunities, empower through education, make sure they also give an opportunity to learn and upskill, reskill themselves. If not, we can't move forward. Third, access to healthcare. Healthcare become very expensive nowadays, and then government must come in with a proper security net, which is government committed to review current SOCSO and EPF as well, so that people are taking care at a various stage of their life.
Okay, thank you. Are there any specific geographic or demographic considerations that influence the implementation of Malaysia Madani? And if so, how do these considerations shape their respective approaches?
We go for the what is the needs and strength of the regional needs. It depend on the like example at the East Coast, like Terengganu, because of the oil and gas. So ECRL play a good role, and we capitalize on their economic activities and needs for support services based on their regional needs, like Sabah and Sarawak. Like example, now we are talking about shortage of rice. Sabah may take the lead very soon. People are exploring to do the paddy progression in Sabah. As Sarawak, people are exploring beside, they are pioneering now for the hydrogen energy. So depends on the needs. Even the EV going to be in a Tanjung Malim with a big scale. The spillover effect is a Kedah, so that the regional particularly can participate, not even if not direct, in the supply chain of the respective big industries.
Okay, the next question, right? How does the government strike a balance between meeting labor market demand and reducing dependency on unskilled foreign labor, while also ensuring fair labor practices, opportunities for skill development among our Malaysian citizens?
Okay. There's about R1 billion being spending on upskilling, reskilling of Malaysian workers. So that's one. Second, we want to reduce the dependency on the manual labors or low skill labors by bringing more high-tech investment. Third, adaptation on the technologies or automation by MSMEs. Look, a lot of like a Rise Forward initiative by MIDA is kind of one of the example way to encourage SMEs to adapt automation so that they can reduce the dependency on the foreign, especially unskilled labors. Even I was told by FELDA, so they are now, FELDA and SIMW are working towards more mechanization of the oil palm plantation, even exploring on the drone, use drone to cut the palm oil fruits. So there's a lot of activity going on just to replace foreign workers.
Okay, in terms of sustainability and long-term impact, how do Malaysia Madani address issues such as environmental sustainability and the resilience of communities in the face of economic and environmental challenges?
Yes, that's right. Environment is a part of our life. We can't discriminate or thinking economic different and environmental different. which I think the very orthodox thinking, which we are suffering now. So that whatever planning now, people are inclusive with the ESG now in place, and then greater enforcement going on. Make sure every individual corporate will apply the ESG. Second, our way of sustainability, not only talking about human, also the environment, and every our policy will give a greater extent. Third, we are committed to net zero by 2050, and a lot of our GLCs, especially big companies or corporates, are committed to serve this. That's why the EV, even the solar technologies, or hydrogen energy base, because we want to reduce the emission from the coal and conventional gas energy based consumption. So this kind of shifting towards renewable energy, and then committed to net carbon or more electric vehicles on the way. So we believe that we can slowly reach and achieve our ambition and support these environmental needs.
Okay, next question, right? In your opinion, do you think that we are ready for the transition of EV implementation? I mean, taking into account that
Okay.
cars are EV cars. I mean,
yeah. Because I think to become owner of a EV cars is not a big deal, but the infra not yet there. So that's why the next budget, the development of infra to support the EV ecosystem. Okay, let's say tomorrow people come out with the best incentive to buy an EV car. Most of the people may shift to the EV car because of the so-called trend or business model or better financing. But the accessibility to power charging their car, the traveling mode, and so on. So especially government more concerned on the traveling charging port. We need to increase the infra immediately in order to support the EV market.
Follow-up question to that, right? I think the MITI's KPI for the charging station, right? I think it's to increase up to 1,000 DC charging stations in Malaysia. I think by 2024 or 2025. But your tax exemption on the EV is going to end by 2025. So do you think that they will extend this tax exemption?
Possible. We are waiting for the next budget or the following budget, because EV going to play a critical role, because we are not only the consumer, we also plan to produce. Okay, even not only motor car, car, it's also a motorbike on the way. I was told recently some China investors are looking at the opportunity to produce a motorbike here, EV motorbike. So I think we may have a better scheme or incentive to be more friendly to accommodate production and consume of the EV.
Okay, and then the next question: what indicators or metrics are used to measure the success and progress of Malaysia Manadi, and how do these indicators reflect the effectiveness of each approach in achieving their respective goals?
Okay. I think PM always mentioned that you want to eradicate or this hardcore poverty. Okay, we have about this 400,000 household in a poor category. Half of them in hardcore poverty. About under 90,000 is hardcore poverty. So if you look at this, our vision is make sure every Malaysian growth, and then specifically we want to do away with the hardcore poverty and slowly addressing the poverty and reduce the disparity of the income. That's another good indicator. That's why the reason the progressive wage model. We have a lot of working class community in the bottom level of the income stream to have a decent or better income or progressive income, so that they can also enjoy the life. So all these metrics of the bottom B40's lifestyle or income or reduce the dependency on the government welfare. So a good indicator. We said the government elevated the people from the poverty line so that I no need to support or subsidize a lot of things. So this kind of indicator will give some overall macro picture, say that we are doing equally good, not only the economic indicator, also rakyat performance, rakyat welfare or well-being indicators.
Chris, if I may.
Yeah,
Yeah, sure.
Hi, Pobalan, Dr. Nani here.
Hi, Dr. Nani.
Okay, some perhaps sensitive question for the government. Before we
Okay.
leap into another economic concept, we remember all the economic corridors, the ETP, the GTP, and now we are given this economic Madani. What happened to our vision 2020? When are we going to achieve the 2020 first before we leap into this Madani?
As you said, okay. This is my personal observation based on my involvement, my understanding, all this. The name or the branding may differ according to the leaderships or party ruling, whatever. But I can see for Malaysian particularly, we can see some continuity. Even Madani, we are adopting some good practices or goals set by the previous regime from the ETP. Or we want we use now Madani word, or we're talking about more sustainability, comprehensive. I think Vision 2020 also, even during previous ruling, we're talking about Keluarga Malaysia or Satu Malaysia. Everyone want to create equal opportunity, equally focus on rakyat. I think always there. Maybe the word, the promotion of the more policies that differ, but I think it's a complement each other. That's my personal observation. I don't think so. We are too far away or totally different. Maybe our approach may need to be changed or changed according to the current needs or challenges we are facing. As simple as that. We never imagined. I never thought this a pandemic, right? We never experienced a pandemic before, but pandemic have given a lot of lesson. Maybe the ETP developed 10 years before that. We cannot be fully adapted now. Maybe
Okay,
even the
maybe I should
Madani.
rephrase the question. Maybe
Yeah.
Pobalan, maybe I should rephrase the question. When will Malaysia achieve high income nation?
Oh, that's okay. I think hopefully by another another decade lah. Hopefully by 2030, by increasing our position, whatever. But high income nation is a very subjective thing as well, because the economic is growing and the global impact, and then the value of the money and so on. I'm not a really economic person to give you a numerical answer, but I think it's a good ambition. At least motivate us to become better and better, not far away from the global benchmarking. So, because for me, the economic is assumptions. Numbers are tomorrow. Let's say China drop, India drop tremendously. We become a giant economy, maybe, or Singapore become the leading economics. Who knows? But besides that, we want my personal take on this high income is: are every individuals in this country enjoying the wealth and prosperity or not? Means according to their needs and their capacity, we must reduce the disparity of income, distribution of the wealth. That should be the key indicators beside the high income. High income, I think, is a dynamic thing. So it may change time to time. Tomorrow, I may say 30,000 ringgit high income. The other day, maybe 40,000. It's okay. My apology. I don't talk about technical about economics. But as a citizen, I'm doing we want a decent living of that. Every rakyat is more important.
Okay, anyway, during
Sorry, I lost you.
ETP, remember very correctly, if you can hear me, Popalan? The share of employer and employee has been addressed by the previous government during ETP. I remember correctly, when they announced the ETP. So this has been revisited by the government. So my question is, what happened to the previous plan of wanting to increase the share of employee in the economy? Now the government is giving us another target. The previous target never achieved. Now giving another target. Then Malaysia is very great in giving target, will never achieve target. So what is your view on that? That's why people are not really that excited when Madani or whatever, because Malaysia is very great in planning, but execution very poor. So that's the thing. Because as economists, I do remember correctly. I remember very vividly that the previous government, ETP, GTP, this target of employee in the economy has been put as a target, one of the targets lah. So your take on this?
Yeah, I agree that people, there's a perception as well because, but despite all this political instability recently because of the, I said infighting of political parties, it's not really political instability. From Malaysian perspective, my view is we are a bit consistent compared to other countries which if their political change affect a lot. That's why I said, even though the word or target may shifted according to the times or needs or vision of the leaders, but we are almost consistent. We surviving various even pandemic we have gone through. I think we survived. We are doing better than other our regional partners or other countries compared to other countries among the world. I think US still in the bad shape. Comparatively, I didn't say they are big economy, but I think they are doing bad shape compared to our recovery. So I think even though our target is target lah, we may shift according to the needs or current challenges. Or previously, I never heard about people talking about March on the ESG and so on. So we must incorporate this kind of a new element, shift our target or change. But the willingness or the stability of the government may serve some purpose based on the current branding.
Can I ask you? I think following the question of the implementation and so on, do you think that to achieve the Madani target, do you think that the government should establish sort of like a dedicated team which consists of ministries, industry players, and experts
There's
to
a
achieve
team
that?
going to be a delivery management unit being established to monitor, to coordinate the performance or monitoring the performance because the implementation by various agencies and ministries, the BMU going to collect the information and monitor and report to the cabinet and parliament.
Okay, so basically there's a plan to establish a team, meaning that, for example, okay, for example,
I think the work is on the way. Maybe very soon they will announce that. Most probably after budget, maybe.
all right, but in terms of there's a the raising the ceiling. We're talking about the food security, right? Currently, we are facing some issues with the food securities. For example, like and then part of the mission in this is to employ the agro technology to increase the productivity and so on. So, do you think that the uh, nations would go back to agriculture with higher tech, or they will prefer to remain in the industrial technology manufacturing sectors?
Yes, sir. Because the food industry, we need to look at two lens. One is basic needs of every human being. Also, is also a commodity. Let's say, taking about rice itself. Not only Malaysian facing the shortage. Okay, because of the India's stop, a lot of other neighboring countries also facing the shortage. Let's say we are advanced and we can produce, like the government now talking about five cycle of the production within the 2 years. This kind of the things. Yeah, we may export our surpluses, where bringing a lot of income. That's one. Second, I think because the plantation or this agriculture no more in conventional things. Even a lot of youth, because of the IoT and modernization, mechanization, yeah, people may coming in, and especially big conglomerates taking an active role. Okay, like Felda. Recently, I went to Felda. They are working on other commodities like banana, pineapple, and so on. So I think it will getting a different attention. Even upcoming graduates, they may shift to this agriculture because people talking about vertical farming. There were a lot of areas, and then government has allocated about 200 million through the agro bank to people as a financing facilities to shift to the conventional farming to the modern farming. I foresee some positive, maybe a digital green book coming soon.
Okay, if there are no more questions, maybe we shall conclude this event. I just want to thank you again to Mr. Manokaran and Mr. Pubalan for this insightful presentation.
Thank you guys for the opportunity. Hope my sharing give you some kind of basic information or better information on the Malani region and region. Thank you. Thanks for questions as well.
All right, thank you. All right, and to all the participants, we would like to thank you for attending this session. Do remember to complete the post-assessment and the evaluation form in order to get the CPE points. We shall leave this page open until 1 p.m. If there are any questions, you can feel free to contact our dealing team. Thank you.
Can we have a group photo?
Okay, Lola.
Ken, group photo.
Thank you, Chris, for the opportunity given. We will meet up in the future.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mano.
Okay.
Okay, have a good day. Bye.
Can sign up?
Yeah, Ken.
Okay, thank you. Bye.